Hello Internet, and welcome to Freeblades 101, Scenario and Deployment. So in this video, it's going to be talking about determining your scenario and deploying your freeband. One quick note, I talked about the LRB, the Living Rulebook, in the last video. One thing I did not mention is the model stat cards. Model stat cards did not change at all. If you had model stat cards from 2 weeks ago, still correct, still work, still right. Your models fight the same. Again, unless they have maybe the standoff rule that has changed. So guys, the spears do fight a little differently, but their MAR didn't change, their RAR didn't change. If they have parry, they still have parry. Parry still does the same thing. All of that stayed the same. So, going with scenarios, as you can tell, the encounter areas are been deployed. Kind of went over that. There are 16 train features on here. The majority of them are as 2 train features, so there's not a lot of smaller ones. There are more bigger ones. You'd go over with your opponent, say, forest, what the building was, what this was, what that was, what this was. We don't need to because we're not going to actually play. We're just going to do the deployment. But just make sure that when you do play, make sure you know and your opponent knows what all the terrain features mean. So, to start, what do you do? Well, you need to roll a D18 to figure out your scenario. Again, when I do this scenario after I deploy, after I put down the terrain, because I don't want to inadvertently, subconsciously try and make the terrain benefit one side or the other for a scenario. Again, it's just how I do it. If you and your buddy want to do it a different way, go right ahead. So, you roll a D18. There are 18 scenarios now in the LRB. First one is number 1. Number 1 is going to be the skirmish scenario. It's on page 107. And it's going to be pretty fairly straightforward scenario. The encounter area is a 4-foot by 4-foot table, like we have here. You place one objective in the center of the table, and the deployment is standard, and there are no special rules. So, you grab your objective token. You put it pretty much as it says in the middle of the table. Now, if you would have to change things around, you just adjust them minimal as possible as you're playing, just so you can start playing. Some scenarios you would have to put 3 things along the center line, or you need to have a critter wholly concealed in the center of the table. Well, as you can see, this objective, which is the same size as what a critter base would be, and he wouldn't be. So you just nudge this forest in a little bit. He's not completely concealed. Again, come up to those, deal with them as you need to. For deployment, it says has the standard deployment rules with no special rules. So what does that mean with standard deployment rules? Standard deployment rules means you need to pick a home edge, or a home. If like you rescue the prisoner, the defender's home is in the center of the table. So that's where he would panic to. In this one, you're going to roll off against your opponent. High roll will get to pick. So for the sake of just showing this, the Herodellans are going to be the blue die, and the Khazarks are going to be the black die. I know you guys really can't see what the die rolls are. Again, not really going to matter. I just want to get to you on how deployment works. So 6 and a 9. So the Herodellans are going to win. Khazarks rolled a 6, they lost. Let's say the Herodellans spiked this, so they got a 10, so you get to keep rolling, and say they got an 8, so now they have an 18. They critted the Khazarks roll of a 6. So what does that mean? Actually, before you would do that, you would need to add in any scouting points. If you had scouts in your army, or if you were playing a league game and you had a handicap and you bought scouting points, you would add those to this die roll. Might make it easier for you to crit. So the highest player chooses their deployment zone, which is their edge, and then the lower level player is the opposite. If you are playing a multiplayer game, say there's 4 of you, The highest person picks, then the next highest, then the next highest, and then the fourth person is stuck with whatever's left over. Or if you have 8 and you have deployment areas throughout the board, etc., etc. The bigger scenarios will tell you how to do that, and how to deploy for multiples. But just know that highest person picks, then the next highest, then the next highest. Most games, it's going to be across the board. The highest player person then picks a model and places it, and then the other person places a model and places it. So you don't deploy your entire force, you deploy one at a time. But, going back to our thing, let's say you critted. So what happens? So something good always happens when you crit. So you give 3 options when you crit. The target threshold is 10 for a crit for the deployment roll. You can change the lighting condition. Now, normal scenarios, it's going to be normal lighting. So you can change it to gloom. Or then if you double crit it, you can change it to dark. Now, what does that mean? Gloom and dark, it affects the lighting on how far you can see without a lantern or a torch or so on and so forth. As well as it'll give people bonuses or penalties to shooting and whatnot. Some scenarios will start off in gloomy, and then, hey, if you crit it, you can make it normal. Or you can make it dark. You can change the weather, either up or down 1 level. So you can go from normal to fog to rain or windstorm, and then to snow or sandstorm, depending on what you're fighting in. If you're playing on a desert, you probably don't want to say it's a snowstorm, but you could. It's a magical place. Weirder things have happened. So if you are starting in fog, you could raise it up to normal, or you can make it a rainstorm or a windstorm. And again, the rules for that are in the terrain things. The third thing you can do is you can give a model a 3-inch free movement after deployment. No model may be given more than 1 of these. So if you double critted it, you can't give it to the same model twice, but you can give it to 2 different models. Or you could do any combination of these. That 3-inch move cannot be combined with infiltrate. So if a model has infiltrate, they don't get to add on a 3-inch move on top of their infiltrate. So let's say you did 2 crits. You could give 1 model a 3-inch free move, and then you could change the lighting 1 degree. Or you get 3 crits. You could do all 3 once. Or you could change the lighting 2 and the weather 1. Any combination, however you want. So the Haredellans won. They get to pick their side on a 4-foot by 4-foot like this, where it's on my table, it's in the middle. You can pick any side. You don't have to go this way to this way, or you're not required to go this way to this way. You win the roll, you get to pick. So we'll say the Haredellan is going to pick this side because he wants a nice straight shot at that objective. And so he places his first model within 9 inches of his home edge. So these other ones, it's up here. They haven't been deployed yet. Other than that, there's no restrictions. You don't have to stay close to anybody. You could spread them out as far as you wanted to. You could put them all right next to each other. It does not matter. Then the next person. Again, as long as you're within 9 inches, you're good. You go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. If one side gets done first, the other side just deploys the rest of their models. That does not confer any bonus on you're going to get a bonus to your initiative roll or anything. Say we quickly deploy all the guys. And again, I'm just going to throw these out here just so I can kind of show. This, that, this. Before you would roll the first turn to actually start the game, you take your infiltrate. You could have guys, if they had stealth or chameleon, they could do those things. Those will be listed on their stat cards on if they can do that. Something like infiltrate by the field agent, say the field agent has infiltrate, all that means is they can make a move up to their speed if they want. You would then now roll for the first turn. The Khazars are getting really close already, but the Haredellans have some fast-moving guys as well. So, again, with this scenario, if I remember it right, it's you have to consecutively, for 2 turns, have a model in contact with the objective in the end phase, with no enemy model within 3 inches. And that pretty much is how you set up the deployment and go. You get your scenario and you deploy. It's fast and simple. The next thing you do, just then you would start your actual initiative and so on and so forth. So, hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, Living Rulebook is out. It's amazing. I recommend getting it. It's off their website. If you had the companion, as I said before, it is free. So, until next time.